plays.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think anyone else would agree.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I really hope that Pope can just figure this out, man. But it's not even his fault that he's getting hate. I realize this. I was talking on the radio with Derek Coe a few days ago, and I had the epiphany that this isn't Mark Pope's fault that people are bashing him, which is sad. It's the fact that people keep how many questions do we get about Mark Pope?
Yeah.
So we get questions about Mark Pope.
We have to be honest.
Yeah, our job is to produce content, right? That's mine and your job right now, is to produce content about the Miami Hurricanes team. And everyone is asking about Mark Pope, and we are sitting back and saying nothing has visibly changed from the last 2 years to now. Yeah. So why would our expectations change right now?
Exactly. And we're not saying that we don't want him to do well. Of course we want him to do well.
Of course not, dude. I would love, if Mark Pope is our number one receiver, I will sing his praises from on high, and I will say, I was wrong. He proved me wrong. I was a doubter. Whatever. That's not my position here. My position is that people ask me, they say, what do you think about Mark Pope? And I say, well, absolutely nothing has changed in 2 years. And so if you're expecting more than that, it's unfounded.
Yeah. Yeah. So it always brings up a response, because I will agree. I don't think we have gotten, I think we've gotten more questions about Mark Pope than any other player.
Correct. We have. We definitely have.
Yeah. And so
possibly even more than De'Aaron King. I honestly think we might have gotten more Mark Pope questions than De'Aaron King.
Yeah, 100%. And so to answer the guy's question, starting off, no. I think Mark Pope will get more playing time than Keyshawn Smith, but I think that could be subject to change.
I agree with you. I think when all is said and done, I think we'll be a lot more excited about Keyshawn Smith than Mark Pope going into next season.
I like that. Okay, so let's just run through these last ones. Okay, so next question is from Pope Kane. He says, 2 scrimmages in, how are you guys feeling about our linebackers now? And will X, a.k.a. Xavier Estrepo, have a better career at Miami than Braxton Berrios?
Ooh, interesting.
Okay, so I will answer. So answering the first question first, I feel a lot better about our linebackers. I know that, it was a hot topic in this offseason, just because Quarterman and Pinckney aren't there, and there's just a lot of question marks at linebacker. But I do feel a lot better about our linebackers now, especially that Bradley Jennings Jr. stepping up, and that Avery Huff and Sam Brooks are playing very well, and Corey Flagg, true freshman, playing very well. So to answer it very quickly, I am feeling a lot better, and I think that there's going to be a lot more depth and rotation play at this position than we thought.
I agree, and I think we're seeing a rotation forming before our eyes, because that's what the word was, that there was no experience outside of Zach McLeod, who, in my opinion, was questionable anyways in terms of what his impact will be, because he was our third best linebacker last year. But I think we're seeing this rotation emerge with McLeod and with Jennings and with Huff and with Brooks. And then we've heard Wayman Steed's name a few times as well. I'm feeling a lot more confident just knowing that these guys can play. Knowing that Bradley Jennings can play, knowing that Avery Huff can play, knowing that Corey Flagg can play, and that they're making moves in a scrimmage against, the ones on occasion. I feel a lot better about it. I still don't feel great, but, it feels nice to see a rotation taking place.
Definitely. So now you got to answer the Braxton Berrios question.
Ooh, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to say yes. I expect Xavier Restrepo to have a better career than Braxton Berrios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
Dude, I feel like he's lighting this whole place on fire, as a true freshman. Like, he's leading our receivers. He's going to be unstoppable in this type of, like, fast-paced offense. Him running underneath routes and quick outs and slants and stuff, you're not going to be able to stop it. He's going to put up the equivalent of Wes Welker numbers in this offense, especially as he gets older. I'm
gonna agree with you, man. I think I don't think he'll ever, go above Braxton in terms of, my favorite Canes ever, but but I think especially since Restrepo is getting, in the offense and everything early, because if you think about it, Braxton didn't really emerge as a true threat as a wide receiver until his senior season. Yeah. I think Restrepo is going to, be that kind of guy much earlier in his career. And so stats wise, I think he'll end up having a better career than Braxton Berrios. And that doesn't make me sad, I promise. But I think that the fact that people are even comparing him to Braxton Berrios is a great sign. And so.
Well, one of the things that I thought about when you read that question was we had Roman Kane on a little while ago, the offensive guru, and he said, do not be surprised when you see Rhett Lashley use short passes as an extension of the run game. He said, swing passes to the backs, slants over the middle, quick outs, bubbles. He says those are going to be extensions of the Rhett Lashley run game, the run attack. Out of all of our receivers, Marsh, who is the most fit to benefit from that?
I think you have to. I mean, there's multiple answers, honestly. I think Restrepo is one that clearly fits that bill, though.
Absolutely.
And I think that I think all guys like Mike Harley too. Because of bigger possession, receivers that are going to run those 8-yard button hooks and, you give them the ball. These are the kind of receivers where you get them into open space and let them be athletes. And so, I know that's a great point by Rowe. And that's why I just love this offense so much, because finally we have an offense that fits the skill set of our wide receivers and our athletes. I mean,
it really would not surprise me that as you see Restrepo develop and get older, so we're talking the third and fourth years of his career here, it would not surprise me if you could just like mark it down before the game that he goes for 8 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Like I feel like when that happens, it'll be like, oh, Restrepo had a classic Restrepo game. And it was that he had 8 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's because we're playing the dink and dunk game, and it's guys like him and Jalen Knighton that are racking up receiving yards and receptions because of it.
It's just great to see. I mean, because there was so much hype around guys, especially Restrepo, because everyone just loves him because he embodies what a Cane is. And it's just awesome to see them on Greentree and making plays. Like, we don't have to, go back to their high school film. We can, mention what they're doing against, even though it's just scrimmages, but I think that a lot of it is going to carry on into, the regular season, especially guys like Jalen Knighton, Xavier Restrepo, and hopefully some other guys step up as well, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
We have any more questions? Sure.
I think that's about it. Other ones, there were other ones, but we've answered them in depth several times, but
I have a question for you if you want to talk about it. I mean, we're only at 40 minutes, so we can push this out a little more if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
So I think we should talk about some of the guys that stand to benefit the most from this rule change. The extra eligibility. Let's go over some of the guys that we could see return that might not have.
I think, for a guy like Derek King, I think that depends on what kind of season he has. Let's say that if he goes out, throws for 35 touchdowns, rushes for another 10, just balls out. What's the benefit of returning for another season when in reality you can come back and win games, but as far as your draft prospect, I think it only has a chance to go down in that aspect.
Well, what if he does that and he goes to the NFL, like, he gets his scouting report and they say you are not an NFL quarterback, but you could go 6th round as a slot receiver.
Or I think that we had Ryan Roberts on last week, and he is not sold on Derek King as a NFL quarterback, and sometimes I think it's going to be very hard for Derek King to shake that notion, and towards the eyes of NFL draft people. So I don't know what has to happen for that notion to be changed about it.
But what I'm saying though is he has a great year as quarterback, and then they say, hey, you're not going to play QB at the next level, but we'd love you as a slot receiver or as a running back, as an offensive weapon, like an Alvin Kamara type guy, or Antoine Randall type thing. If you're Derek King, do you say, well, I know my future, so I might as well go back and play another year of quarterback at Miami? Does that make it more interesting for you?
Yeah, it does. It does. What are your thoughts on it? I'm trying to round up a good answer.
That scenario ultimately depends on him and his personality, because finances could come into play there. And it really depends on how passionate he is at playing the position of quarterback. He acknowledged that rule change on Twitter. So I think there's definitely going to be some deliberation for Derek King this season, on whether he wants to keep playing quarterback or if he's ready to just move on and do whatever he needs to do to have an NFL career. But in my mind, him acknowledging it opens the door for the possibility that he could say, you know what, if I have to play slot receiver, that's fine. I'll do it next year because I'm going to play another year of quarterback at Miami.
Yeah, could definitely see that happening. I mean, if we had Derek King for one more season, like as a fan, that's my more selfish reaction, and I think that's how all Canes fans are. But I think I'm not counting on Derek King coming back for an extra year. And I don't think Quincy Roche will either, because I think Quincy Roche is going to have a really big season and he's going to be projected as a 1st or 2nd round guy.
Agreed.
But then there's guys like a John Ford or a Jared Williams or even a Mike Harley who coming into this season, they're not high on, people's draft radars, but if you give them one more season with this kind of offense and this kind of system, who's to say that Harley can't, move into that conversation? Who's to say Jared Williams can't move into that conversation? But, Jared, I know that this is also, I think, his 6th year in college. So, a lot of draft people aren't going to be looking at a guy very highly if he played 7 years of college.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and are there any guys, so you just named a few who are candidates. I certainly agree with Mike Harley as a potential candidate. John Ford was a good one. Jared Williams will be interesting to see. I think he would probably only come back if he gets a grade of not being drafted.
Yeah.
But what are some younger guys that stand to benefit from this? I'm thinking a guy like Mark Pope. I'm thinking a guy like we could see Will Mallory use this.
I was just about to say his name. I think it could benefit Brevin Jordan as well.
Yeah.
Guys that have struggled with injuries.
Navon Donaldson does not have to redshirt anymore.
Absolutely. Navon Donaldson, Corey Gaynor, all those guys. I think guys that have struggled with injuries or